Curtis Miller. I'm a senior manager in our revenue cycle practice like Chris. I specialize in assisting clients in using analytics to answer their operational questions and improve their revenue cycle operations, be that through traditional business intelligence, intelligent automation, or some of the artificial intelligence techniques you can see on the right of the page here. I also help translate those industry problems that we hear about into our products and features in our ConvergeHEALTH portfolio. Joined today with Aaron Stapp from CommonSpirit Health. Aaron, do you want to give a quick introduction on yourself?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Aaron Stapp. I'm a System Vice President for CommonSpirit Health in Revenue Cycle. Really, my areas of focus with CommonSpirit are really around analytics and data, as well as financial issues within Revenue Cycle and cognitive innovation.
Perfect. Thanks, Aaron. So I'll be kind of given the theory at a high level, but I'll get out of the way and bring Aaron in to provide some anecdotes on his experience at CommonSpirit and how he brings some of these techniques to life. As we think about what we just spoke through, data, the expanding universe of data, naturally data becomes an input to analytics. Having more data unlocks the ability to do more advanced analytics, and we will certainly get into what's new in the analytics realm. I do want to focus us in on the desired outcome of these revenue cycle analytics, because I think it's really important that analytics leaders consider what is their organization trying to do, and how can I use that as a prioritization method for determining what analytics I'll produce. So, you first want to align on what the goals of your revenue cycle are. These three we have on the page are pretty common ones. You may have more specific ones. You may weigh them differently. But as you think through what analytics I want to produce, make sure that it is kind of running towards and with the goal of, is it going to help me optimize my revenue? Are these insights going to help me contain cost? Are the visualizations that I'm producing to the team to let them make decisions going to increase patient satisfaction, or whatever your portfolio of goals would be? Folks tend to get ahead of themselves and start building out things down at the bottom of the page, and that's very exciting, but kind of keeping those goals in mind as you establish your analytics portfolio, very important to kind of connecting that to operations. So Aaron, I'd love to bring you in and kind of get your thoughts on goals that maybe you had as you started to set up your central analytics team, and kind of how you approached that challenge.
Yeah, sure. So to give you a little background, right? So CommonSpirit Health was the merger between Catholic Health Initiatives and Dignity Health. And so if you think about that, both systems had fully outsourced the revenue cycle areas, right? So there really wasn't much of an analytics function. And so that was one of the areas that we identified as really being needed, is to bring really robust analytics in-house so that we would have better insight and really could holistically understand our revenue cycle performance, as well as other areas that are impacting our revenue cycle. I think the other part of that we were thinking is, when you don't have access to information and data, right, you're allowing someone else to kind of tell a story and drive the story from their perspective. And so that was definitely something that was important to us, is to be able to do that and understand it with our own data. And so going down that path, is that kind of being the starting point of, we really needed to kind of build from the ground up. I would say we're mostly from the ground up, right? And so we wanted to be able to bring data from all different aspects, right? So we had data from obviously our patient counting system, and then we wanted to bring in reserve data. We wanted to bring in managed care data and expected payment data. And so we were able to do that internally with our own kind of business intelligence and data warehouses in place. But really where we were lacking data that would give us much more insight was really around our EDI data, so our 835 and our 837 data. And so that's where the use of the tool Revenue Intellect came into play. We decided to use that tool. We had used it, we had just started really using it at Catholic Health Initiative. So we implemented that tool. Kind of the beauty of that tool, I would say, is it links all that EDI claim data with your patient accounting data, which really starts to allow you to give much better insights into initial denials, kind of payers and how they behave, and disparities between payers and regions, right? As well as the other big area of insight that it's helped us with is really understanding the patient responsibility portion, like what amount is getting assigned to the patient? How is our performance and collections around that? How does that vary between payers and region? And so really getting that insight was some of the reasons we went into revenue intellect. I think the other things too it helped us do was really standardize our data, right? We have, I think, more than 10 different EMRs, and of course then they're on a bunch of different platforms. So there's a lot of different systems with Spirit data that we need to standardize and normalize to be able to centralize the analytics and really gain insight into that. I think the other big thing, like if you internally try to do this with your EDI data, it becomes quite a bear, right? Not only because just the volume, but also you get multiple claims data on one account. And so how do you handle all the multiple claims to one account? So revenue intellect also highlights the claim of most importance for us. And so really you're able to hone in on the claims data that is most relevant to that claim. So those are kind of the things that where we started to and how we came to need and use revenue intellect as a great tool for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. So kind of with that data normalized, with that data in place and kind of executing against goals, I mean, what that unlocks for leaders in an organization are all the things listed here. So want to highlight just very simply a couple of new things in traditional business intelligence and analytics techniques, as well as allude to some of the early steps in that artificial intelligence space and kind of where we're going here. So reports and dashboards, right? You don't need me to define that. That's something that folks have been executing on. You know, back when spreadsheets were on paper, right? We were drawing up bar charts, we were providing insights. But I think there's some improvement in compute power, right? Matt alluded to petabytes of data. Imagine deriving insights from petabytes of data even 3 years ago. It was near impossible. And kind of the other advancement that we're seeing is more and more democratization of data and insights. So allowing user self-service through more mature business intelligence tools, it really unlocks, your end user's ability to get answers to questions that they have. And then B, analytics teams are able to produce more, to provide more to the organization because they're not the holders of the keys for all reports. One other thing I'll highlight is kind of cohort analysis. It's a classic concept. That's the idea of, as Aaron alluded to, maybe segmenting by denials in a specific region or denials by a specific type, but definitely one that's advanced in our ability to segment. We can inform insights at a very granular level. We can answer more detailed questions. We can give business users the ability to kind of double click into the numbers and the data they're seeing to find that target population. So Aaron, I know you had an example around payer scorecards and maybe how those have evolved. Quick overview of what you all are building.
Sure, yeah, so that's been one of the nice things in revenue intellect, right? Payer scorecards, I don't think that's a concept that's new to anybody, right? They've been around a long time. I think what's been nice for us is just our volume of data, being able to automate that within revenue intellect. And so building those out and being able to compare, our payers at a region level, right? I think we're in, 20 plus states. And so payer and payer performance and payer behavior is very different between those states. And so being able to isolate that and drill down, have an automated way to produce a payer scorecard where you can compare those payers, as well as bring in that EDI data and start looking at, okay, who has a higher initial denial rate and who's increasing their ADRs, and how are those payers, are they pushing a lot of that contracted rate to patient responsibility that of course we don't collect as well on. And so really your contracted rate's, different than what you think it is. And so having all this type of insights been very helpful. I would say that's been a big plus for us. That's something we've been able to do with revenue intellect.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. One last highlight on the left column very, very quickly is process intelligence. So this is something that falls under your traditional descriptive analyses, but it's a new technique that a lot of folks are leveraging. If you have Epic or you have another modernized patient accounting system, you're likely getting a log of every user's click to accomplish the cycle. And there are new techniques, new products that actually can line up that account's life cycle. So you can compare different accounts and say, well, one got denied, one didn't get denied. When I look at the user activity all lined up, it seems that the fork in the road is, did I get a prior authorization? No, those are getting denied. Yes, those are not getting denied. So it's a really cool, innovative technique to start to dig into the actual work that goes on to drive the outcomes, and definitely something we're seeing emerge. Moving over to the right side of the slide, the one that I do want to highlight, just given the time that we have, is anomaly detection. It's one that we're really, really excited about, and it's kind of expanding the bounds of what revenue cycle analytics can do. So anomaly detection is the concept of using artificial intelligence to monitor your operations and flag deviations from the norm. So in general, if we were to analyze an organization's denial rate for a specific region from a specific payer, we would see up and down ticks, but we would be able to establish what normal operations look like. It's a ton of manual effort to identify where are things deviating from the norm. It takes time. It's not in real time. And we can only deploy so many eyes against that problem. Well, with artificial intelligence, you can use algorithms to establish that mean, those standard deviations, all the statistical terms necessary to say, oh boy, yesterday, this denial rate spiked in one of my regions and I need to look into it now. It's a really cool technique. It can be deployed against almost any metric with any amount of slicers and dicers, and it really pulls forward your analytics team's ability to react in real time. So, Aaron, this is an emerging technique. I know you and the team are kind of working with the Revenue Intellect team to deploy this, but kind of any thoughts on how you all are progressing to deploy that rev cycle mission control?
Yeah, so we've built a good base of data, right? And we have awesome insight, all kinds of data. And if we get requested for something specific, we can go pull it and really have, I think, a great sense of the data and access to the data. But really where we're trying to get to is that next step, right? Like if you think about it, like I think we have millions of accounts, tens of millions of transactions, right? And so if you think about that, trying to just look through like normal analytical reports and getting insight, and it's hard enough, right, to catch something after it's occurred. And so this is where we're trying to take that next step in the evolution of, hey, can we identify these trends ahead of time and point out, our operations team is so busy with just the normal operations, regulatory issues, like there's constant stuff that they're dealing with, to have them try to dig through, okay, here's a standard report. Can you look through this and identify trends or issues, right, that are unknown? So this is where the next step we're really trying to get to, where can we use artificial intelligence to help us identify those trends and those issues? So we've been working with our operations team to kind of build those rules on, okay, can we use this AI to detect, do we have a spike in ADR requests for a specific payer in a specific facility, where other things that it can highlight for us and identify before they become an issue, right? So it's really that next step that we're excited about. And we're still trying to figure out like the best way to use it. But that's definitely the next step we're trying to take that we're definitely excited about.
Awesome. And Curtis, Aaron, I don't know if I can jump in here, but that point around how do we use anomaly detection, and maybe Brooke, stay back on the previous slide, but how do we use that technique? I wonder if that actually brings up a broader point around analytics, which is, you can run all the math and the data and the, draw as many insights as you want, but getting people to actually consume those insights and make change based on that is a whole nother story. Aaron, can you talk a little bit about it, given the complexity of your organization at the scale? I'd love to hear kind of your experience around, trying to get people, to actually understand, read, digest, and make, react to the insights you're providing.
Yeah, I think that's one of our biggest struggles, right? Is like, we have a phenomenal amount of data. I'm proud of the data and the insights that my team can get, right, from the tools we have and what we built out. But it's how do we make it meaningful? How do we get operations to be able to leverage that data and change our performance and improve our performance, right? And be ahead of the game and not constantly behind, instead of trying to explain after the fact, like, why is cash down, or why is denials up, or, try to get ahead of the game so you're recognizing an issue beforehand and solving it. So I would say that's something we're definitely working to. I would say that's one of the biggest challenges, right, is how to engage operations to make it the most meaningful for them as part of their regular process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So not really an answer, right? We're in the process of figuring it
more
out.
More of a shared, we're all in it together. We're all trying to solve the same problem. Yeah, no, that's excellent. All right, so only because I read an article on ChatGPT on the plane yesterday, I'm going to ask this question. But if you fast forward 5 years, data's normalized, operators are digesting the data. These techniques are mature. You guys have figured out anomaly detection, how to use that. Where do things go from here? And Curtis, I'd love to know your perspective as well as Aaron's on, where does it go from a an academic perspective, or how we actually bring this to life for clients, as well as from a client perspective, like what does it mean to you if 3 years from now, where is RevCycle from an analytics perspective?
Yeah, and thanks. If anybody wants an entertaining read, and maybe you've heard of ChatGPT, maybe you've played with it, go Google it and follow it to the website and ask ChatGPT to write you an appeals letter for a non-covered services denial. And I think you'll see that now with some of these techniques. But Sam, I think there's a continuation of the trend, right? The data universe is not done producing additional petabytes of data, right? We're going to be able to structure documents, pieces of paper, scanned images, medical records, and that's going to unlock all kinds of new analytics techniques for the team to use. I think it's going to be important for analytics teams to do exactly what we said at the start. Take a step back, because you're going to be able to produce so many insights, and I promise you your operational counterparts are going to ask for all of those insights. So stay focused on the goals, use the right techniques for the right problem, and just continue to democratize that user self-service and let them kind of answer their own questions where they can. But Aaron, anything else that you see heading up with the revenue cycle that'll affect analytics in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think my hope is, right, when you talk about unstructured data and other things, is we're really, what I think is holding us back is all the manual human intervention, right? So we're trying to use math and machine learning and stuff to be able to really leverage these analytics. And so I would hope we're in a place where we get to a point where a lot of these processes are automated that don't require human intervention. I think that would really allow us to get the most out of a lot of these technologies, right? When we've looked at machine learning and stuff, there's always a percentage of the claims based on your history, the machine learning says you have a very low percentage of winning these appeals, but you kind of have to trust that the processes you have in place are followed every time the same way, right? And so that's where I think what always kind of scares us. Every percentage of our revenue, for most health systems is so important, right? As we're working on such tight markets. So that's kind of where I'm hoping it goes, so we can really move kind of these next steps with advancements in analytics and innovation.
Well, that's excellent. Well, Aaron, Curtis, thank you both for your time. As a fellow data geek, this part of the revenue cycle really excites me, and where we're actually going to move in the next 3 to 5 years is also super exciting as well. So I appreciate you guys spending a little bit of time with us talking through that.